Today's show is brought to you by GoDaddy. Buy your own domain name, build your site, or use any of GoDaddy's business tools and save 30%. Just go to trygodaddy.com/HWT. That's trygodaddy.com/HWT. Hey, everybody. I don't want to say that anymore. It bothers me. I don't like saying, hey, everybody. I feel like it's a crutch.
Well, what can you say then?
I don't know.
Hey,
welcome to Hey, We're Talking. Is that, I don't know. I could just start it that way, but then even the way I say, like, welcome to Hey, We're Talking, I sound like Ron Radio. I don't want to sound like Ron Radio. It's those people, you know, we used to call them pukers, too. On the radio, the guys that are like, you just heard a song by Madonna. We got to compare. I hate that.
So you're talking about half the radio people in the world.
Yes, I hate that. It's so fake.
Traffic and weather together on the gates.
Yeah, nobody talks like that in real life.
No.
So when you hear,
you got to have that excitement.
Yeah. Well,
hey, Bob.
It's annoying.
Hey, John, how you doing at school? All right.
Yeah, Derek's got that down pretty good.
He does. I knew this guy, and he was involved in radio, and I knew him for a long time before he was in radio. And then he got into radio, and I remember hearing him on the radio for the first time. And I mean, I did it too, not to that extent. Cheryl was like, you have a different radio voice. And I was like, what do you mean? And I listened to it. I understand what she's saying. So I pronounced words like more... I was more careful about the way I said a word. So like in real life, I might just go, I was careful about how I said a word. But when I was talking in a microphone, I'd be like, I'm more careful about how I say a word. You know, like try to pronounce articulate. It. Yeah, more articulate. But there's some people who do that like, hey, and they just really extend stuff, and it irritates me.
Yeah, we've got a guy here in Chicago. I mean, the biggest news radio station, in the Chicago area. Every morning when he comes on at 5:30, he's like, "Hi, this is Pat Cassidy by the dawn's early light," and he just starts going into this whole spiel. It just that's how it is. Though.
You know who else you have in Chicago who does that is the guy who does the Hawks games. Pat, what's that guy's name? Is it Pat something?
Yeah, you're gonna make me feel like an idiot. Now I can't remember it.
He's like, "Well, we're trying to
yeah, but dude, if you're a Hawks fan and you're watching the game.
I hate it.
That's the voice of the Hawks.
I hate it.
Well,
nothing you can do.
These voices y'all are doing, they're very haunting.
What a great transition, Derek.
Wow,
he's the best transition guy in the business. What a segue. Yeah,
as long as we're not mad at each other anymore. That's
right. I know, dude. Seriously.
I don't know why you guys were so upset with each other before the show.
Oh, please. Okay, so...
Oh, I just remembered. His name is Pat Foley.
Yeah, Pat Foley!
Dude, his way he announces is... it is so amazing. He's got such a great voice for announcing.
The thing that I caught the other day, because I was listening to one of the games... I don't remember what I was watching, but I heard him, and he's like, when someone comes in to shoot on net... Even if they don't score, if it's like a good scoring opportunity, he's like, and he does this really, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you are so over the top. Shut up.
Yes,
it's not awesome. That exciting.
It is that awesome. It is.
People are listening in Chicago that know that, and they know I'm pretty close to what he does.
Well, he
really gets into the game.
Announces for the Hawks. He could care less about everybody else and what they think. Everybody loves it. Just like Chicago. When the national anthem is going on at the Hawks game, everybody screams the whole time. It's just one of the traditions of Chicago.
Wow. I do remember, I think it was, Derek's like, we're talking hockey, and he is tuned out. Look at his face. So, but I was going to say, I think it was Desert Storm. Remember when we first went in, there was a Hawks game. That's when that really started. People went through the whole anthem, they were just like, ah. It was awesome.
Some people that go to the stadium or watch games that aren't really Hawks fans, they're like, what is this? But it's just cheering through the whole national anthem. I mean, it's awesome.
The other
Sounds
thing,
disrespectful to the troops.
Shut up. They're cheering. You know what? The thing that I don't like about Chicago is when they play the Red Wings, they do a Detroit sucks cheer during the game. That's pathetic. They're an original six hockey team. Show some class.
Oh, really? You want to talk about what happens at Red Wings games?
No, we do. No Red Wings.
Well,
we never chant sucks about any other team.
Hawks fans there than Red Wings fans there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's that's another show. We'll do that on another show.
Okay. All right. Listen. So today, sorry, I had to get that out of my system. Pat Foley.
Never heard of her.
Oh. Hey, speaking of Pat Foley, though, say a prayer for Eddie. He's battling cancer right now. He's coming back to do a game, though.
Yeah.
He's going to do it as neat as he can, but he's got the cancer.
Yeah.
Eddie Olczyk.
A lot of people have the cancer.
They do. All right. So today we're going to be. I almost said something so wrong. I can't. I'm keeping it in my head. I'm not saying it out loud.
Please do.
Okay. So we're going to talk about real haunted houses. Now, when I saw this on the spreadsheet, I was like, why are we going to talk about haunted houses after we did all the horror movies? I don't understand. I thought you were talking about going to haunted houses when you said real haunted houses. And then you're like, no, stupid. A real house that people believe is haunted. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it's just that time of year.
Is it that time of the month?
Yeah. Next week is Halloween. So, we gotta kind of have that Halloween thing at least once a week until Halloween.
Derek's excited too because he said he has a story.
Well, we're talking about like real haunted houses. Have either of you been into or visited or experienced like an actual haunted house or a house that people believe to be haunted?
How about a cemetery?
Yeah, if a cemetery is a house, how many people do you know live in the cemetery?
How about it's just haunted? He's trying to say it was
it's a haunted cemetery.
Haunted locales. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
that broadens it a little bit.
I haven't been in a real haunted house, but I have had quite the experience in a very popular cemetery in the Chicago area.
A popular cemetery. I've never heard of a popular cemetery.
Oh, it is.
It's a really hot cemetery. Everybody loves it.
if you type in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, you'll find all the stories about it. So
I'm probably not going to do that, but I do want to hear your story.
I can honestly say that I have never been to a haunted area ever.
Okay.
Not on purpose, just never have.
Okay, so you've never been to a haunted anything. Bob's been to a haunted cemetery, a.k.a. graveyard, and we'll hear about that.
Uh-huh.
I want to hear about that.
You want his first or yours?
Yeah, let's hear about Bachelor's Grove, which I will not Google because I don't need to, because Bob's going to tell us.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So this place is a cemetery, an old cemetery from the 1800s, and me and a bunch of friends in high school, we all decided we wanted to go to this cemetery and see what it was all about. We went on Devil's Night, which is the night before Halloween. And we all swore to each other.
You swore at the cemetery?
That we would be 100% sober. Nothing to mess with our minds or anything.
Okay.
So we actually, you have to park in the neighborhood and then kind of walk along this main road and then down this just gravel path that's blocked off to get to the cemetery. And we actually had an audio recorder with us, one of those mini cassette tapes. And so a bunch of us got into the cemetery and we were just started to read off all the grave sites and all that stuff. And eventually you actually heard the wind start picking up in the recording. And it did. The wind started picking up really bad once we got into the cemetery. And then we got through all of the graves and kind of read everything off. And then we were standing outside these gates. The gates from the cemetery, one of them is broken, and the other one just kind of swings. And I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about this. So we all we all get out of the cemetery and we're just kind of standing, and way in the back of the woods, we just hear a girl or a woman screaming, like a blood curdling scream, way in the back. Okay.
Where's the tape?
So we're all, I got something good on that. So we were all just standing there, listening to the screams, everything like that. And then we all heard a rustling in the leaves, and we looked down and we saw someone rolling around in the leaves. We got scared as can be.
What?
We all got scared. So we ran all the way back up this road. Now here's the thing, and this is what's giving me goosebumps right now. So as we were running, we heard something but couldn't identify what it was. And I'm going to get back to that real quick.
Okay.
So we get outside of the cemetery. We get another group. We found another group of people that are like, oh, yeah, we're going in. So we just explained to them what happened.
Okay.
Then we all went back in together as a
So you were like,
larger
hey,
group.
bigger numbers. Maybe we're going to be safe.
A little bit safer. So we get in there, and nothing happened right by the cemetery this time. But we said, all right, we're going to go try to find out who's screaming. And we walked in the woods and
gosh.
Could never find anything. I mean, we walked back really far, jumping these little creeks, just kept hearing the girl scream, but couldn't identify where it's coming from. So eventually we wound up leaving the cemetery. My friend and I, who were still friends to this day, we get back home to his house in his room, and we play back the tape. So we heard all the wind picking up, and we could hear, talking into the microphone. And then you hear the point where we're standing outside the gate, and you hear somebody go, "What is that?" And we all you heard everybody scream, and that's when we started running up that gravel driveway. Man, goosebumps like crazy.
Dude, what is going on?
So on the recording, while we were running up there, we just heard this deepest, darkest laugh. So we rewound it, played it back, and the laugh was gone.
Oh.
So this is a totally true story. I've only told it to a handful of people,
now
honestly.
You told it to like millions of people, dude.
This just freaked us out, and I've never gone back, and I will never go back to that cemetery, because that whole night just freaked all of us out. That's something we'll always remember.
Ooh, man. That's wild.
Okay, wait. You don't tell your story yet, because I want to give you plenty of time, and I don't want to say we're going to take a break during the middle of your story. So here's my question, though. I want to go back to this person rolling around thing.
Yeah.
You could tell it was a person?
Yes.
Was there like moonlight, or was it pitch black?
Nope. It was the moon was somewhat over the top. It was like over towards the lake above the trees, and we could see some light, but where you're standing, it wasn't a super dark night, clear sky, so it wasn't
like pitch black or fog or anything.
No.
So when you look down and you see somebody rolling in the leaves, I'm with you. I would have tore out of there too. But did you get a good look? I mean, do you feel like you saw like a real thing?
After talking with everybody, we all said we saw somebody in a white shirt or coat or something just rolling in the leaves.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing.
So the person was sitting against the tree and then started rolling in the leaves.
Maybe they didn't have arms or legs and they could only roll.
Or they were in a straitjacket, because back in these woods a long time ago was a insane asylum.
Oh. And the story lives on. Okay, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Think about that. Person in a straitjacket rolling around in the leaves. Okay, take a break. When we come back, Derek has a story. Derek, how do you feel like you're going to stack up against that story?
Well, we'll find out after this.
Fast, simple, and affordable. That's what registering your domain name with GoDaddy will be. Fast, simple, affordable. And if you listen to this show, Hey, We're Talking, you know you're getting a discount, 30% off, if you go to trygodaddy.com/HWT. Again, 30% off. All you have to do is go to trygodaddy.com/HWT for 30% off your domain name and other business services provided by GoDaddy. Hey everybody, it's Scott from Hey, We're Talking. You've heard us talk about Gamefly.com before. The basics are this. They've got over 8,000 titles for every gaming platform you can think of, and they're giving you a 30-day free trial. That's right, 30-day free trial for you, the listeners of Hey, We're Talking. You want to play video games? You want to be a champ at video games? Go to gameflyoffer.com/HWT. That's gameflyoffer.com/HWT for your 30-day free trial. Oh my gosh. Woo. I wish we could have seen Bob's Goosebumps. That would have been fun.
Yeah,
you
I was trying
you were
to
actually scared, weren't you? A little bit. Like, well, I wasn't scared, but you were reminded of it.
Oh yes, reliving that, I was seriously freaked out to this day. I mean, that's why I get goosebumps and everything.
What is
that was
wrong
a
with me?
scary
Why
moment.
am I laughing about it?
I don't know. That was probably the scariest moment of my life.
Listen, I don't have a haunted house thing, but I did. We had a place in Michigan that was like it's an old. I think it's still there. I don't know if they've ever knocked it down. It was Northville Mental Hospital, and people used to always go to it, and they would always ask me to go, and I was like, "Nah, what's the point?" And they're like, "Dude, there's ghosts in there, man." And I was like, "Okay, whatever, not interested." So I never had anything like that. The only thing I ever had, Derek, and I promise this will only take a second, is just I lived in the basement when I was a kid. And when I became a teenager, I lived downstairs. And so my bedroom was all the way across, and there was a light on the steps, and I would turn that off and then walk to my bedroom in the pitch black. And I mean, in a basement,
It's dark.
it's pitch black. And there were like 2 times where you just feel like something's beside you or behind you.
Oh yeah.
Like that happened a couple of times, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" I ran into my room, flipped the light on, because as soon as you have light, you're fine. It's the darkness that makes you feel like something might happen. But never been to a haunted house. Okay, Derek. Man, I hope yours is as good as Bob's.
It's not about.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Popping, Derek.
I'm
it's
kidding.
It's just a
Okay.
story.
Okay, let's hear this.
Well, I guess Bob went to a place where he actually experienced something, but I went to a place, and I might have mentioned this to you. We talked about this place earlier because I went this summer. It's a home in San Antonio that was built in the late 1800s.
The castle.
By the castle, local politician. Now, if you Google haunted places in San Antonio, this place is going to pop up on a lot of those lists because it's declared to be haunted. And I'm sorry if y'all can hear my dog barking.
It's just a ghost dog,
It's okay.
not a big deal.
Yeah, it's his feeding time. I'm sure they're getting ready to feed him. Anyway, the stories about this place start off from the very beginning. The guy who had it built, I forget his actual name. I think there was problems during construction. One of the contractors that was hired to build it, he got in trouble with the mob or something like that, and they basically threw him off the building, and he died during construction. They threw him off the top floor. Now, the guy who owned the place, who had it built, he contracted syphilis towards the end of his life. And when you have syphilis, you kind of go crazy, you kind of go nutty. And I guess it was 1910, he decided to shoot himself in the head, in the house, in the master bedroom. But he kind of botched it a little bit.
Okay.
It didn't go right into his, it kind of grazed the side of his head, so it took him 2 weeks to die.
Oh my!
Is that the Alamo?
No, that's not the Alamo.
The Alamo.
No. There's a place that they call the Alamo in San Antonio.
There is an Alamo in San Antonio.
Yes, it is that was a battleground site, an old Spanish mission. The place that I stayed at has 2 names: Terrell Castle, and or Lambermont Estate. So it was Mr. Terrell that had the place built. He shot himself.
Mr. Terrell.
He shot himself. He took 2 weeks to die, and they had the funeral in the house.
Yeah.
And it's located right outside Fort Sam Houston, which is a big old army base right there in San Antonio. So during World War II, they took that house and they divided it up into different apartments. And On the third floor, it was occupied by a soldier and his wife. Well, one day, the soldier, come home from work, doopy-doopy-doo, goes upstairs to find his wife, his beloved, in the throes of passion with another feller. Well, that did not set well with our soldier at all. He wound up like strangling his wife and dumping her down the stairs, and she tumbled all the way down to the ground floor where she expired.
Good
and that place,
grief.
and somebody that used to live there during World War II, like she came back like 40, 50 years later and asked the owners, like, are the bloodstains still here?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Apparently
it's a
there was
beautiful castle. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous looking. But if you go on ghostcitytours.com/San Antonio, you can get the history of all the places in San Antonio, and this is one on there, and they've got a huge article about it. So the Tyrrell Castle.
Yeah.
Tyrrell
And San Antonio,
Castle.
and San Antonio itself is considered to be one of the most haunted cities in America, alongside
Really?
New Orleans. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard that in my life.
Well, you're a Yankee.
Thank you.
So when me and my wife went over to San Antonio this summer, and we went to the place, the current owner of the house, Donna, was there, and she was just showing us around, and I was like, I cut to the chase. What do I hear? What's this about ghosts? And she was like, look. She goes, there's a lot of stories. She's like, but me and my husband, we live here. They live on the third floor where
Oh
where,
gosh.
where the
Where the stuff went down, dude.
where some of the bad stuff happened. And she was like, I haven't felt nothing. I haven't heard anything, haven't experienced anything. And I wasn't expecting to either. And when I mentioned to my wife that we're staying at a haunted castle, she was like, what? She was like, I don't want to be in a haunted castle. I'm like, relax. But we stayed there. We stayed 2 nights. Not a peep, not a whisper, no ghosts, no
Were you kind of
ghouls, no
freaked out
demons.
though, just in general, knowing that the history of it, people saying there was issues there?
Afraid not, Bob.
No.
I have a shroud of protection around me, spiritual protection
Ooh.
that I believe in. So
Yeah.
ghosts can't get me. Maybe the only spirits that can get me are the spirits that are in this bottle here of whiskey. The spirit that'll get to me.
I
So,
didn't know. You never said when you told us you were going to that castle that it was haunted when you first told us.
Well, maybe I was saving it up for our Halloween special.
You were like, I've looked at the spreadsheet and I know that I'm going to have to talk about real haunted houses.
I coordinate all of my life events around
sure.
the spreadsheet.
Definitely.
What I choose to reveal to you fellas is strategic in show planning. So yeah,
my gosh.
keep that in mind. Way to go.
So is there any place, I'll ask you guys this because I don't have one of these. Is there any place that you've heard of that's haunted that you want to go visit?
Amityville Horror House.
Is that real though? Is it a real house?
Yeah, it's a real house in Amityville, New York. I wouldn't want to go to them. I don't. I'm beyond that point. We have a local theater downtown called the Rialto Square Theater. It's been there for a long, long time, and a lot of people believe that theater is haunted. And one of the haunting shows on TV actually went down there and recorded a bunch of stuff and all that stuff. And they do tours of that theater and all that stuff, like where it's supposed to be haunted. And I don't know. I don't really have after that first incident, I don't really have a desire to.
That I can see why you wouldn't want to do that. Cheryl told me before, because I told Cheryl, I was like, they want to talk about real haunted houses. I don't know anything about haunted houses. She goes, tell them about that show you watched, The Lowe Files. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's Rob Lowe and his 2 sons, and they go investigate paranormal stuff. And they went to this. I tried to watch it because I was kind of like, what in the heck is Rob Lowe doing paranormal stuff? So it's called The Lowe Files. It's on A&E. And he and his sons, they're like both like college aged now. They went to this it's almost like was basically like juvenile detention, like a prison for kids, but they called it something different back then because it was like in the 1800s, early 1900s or something like that. So they went to this place and people like showed them around and stuff, and they showed where a whole bunch of kids were murdered and all this kind of stuff, and then they spent the night there. And of course, it's TV, so they're like playing up every noise they hear. Oh my gosh, did you hear that? There's like there's this one room where if you throw a ball, like the ghost will play catch with you. Basically, it'll roll the ball back to you in this one room. So they were doing that and stuff, and I was just like, who would want to do this crap? That's my whole thing. I don't want Rob Lowe and his sons. Yes. Which is just the fact that it's Rob Lowe just makes it bizarre.
Yeah, that is a little bit.
You would
weird,
never
but
think
hey,
to yourself, "Hey, Rob Lowe, let's go
Some people need
check
work,
out some
man.
haunted houses."
Yeah, some people just need work.
That's Cheryl's big line. At least he's working. If you see a guy that's like on a TV show and you haven't seen him in forever, and I'll be like, "What? What is this guy doing on this show?" Cheryl goes, "At least he's working."
It's true. Yeah,
it is true. Man,
point,
that Rob Lowe conversation just killed the whole show.
it brought it to a new low.
It's
See, that's the only reason I'm here, folks.
That's the only reason that was even brought up. So you could say it brought it to a new low. Should have played the music right there. Should have just dropped out. Ended the show on a high note.
I don't know how much time we do have, but
about 3 minutes.
I do have about 3 minutes. Well,
you want to save it for another show? We can do it another day.
yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe we'll just save it for the next show and talk a little bit more about the haunted houses and we'll have to move around the spreadsheet, man.
Oh no!
And I just fixed it up.
I know you just fixed it. Well, listen. Before we go, I do want to tell everybody we have been. I don't know if you've seen this. If either one of you guys ever looks at our Twitter, but we've had so many people blowing up this T-shirt giveaway on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, what is happening? So apparently people want free T-shirts. So if you do want a free T-shirt, we have a couple of different places we're doing it. We have one that we're going to do on Instagram on the 31st. The Twitter one will be on the 31st also, but that'll be separate. And then the Facebook one is just about, once we get to a certain number of people on our page on Facebook, we'll be giving away a T-shirt. But if you would like one, please go to @HeyWe'reTalking on Twitter. That's the same thing on Instagram. They're a little different on Instagram because it's not just like, hey, it's different a little bit. But go on Twitter, retweet that thing, tell people about it. Try and get people to listen to the show, which would be nice.
That's
but we're
the key.
Yeah, that's the key. But we're going to give you a free T-shirt. That's pretty cool. I'm amazed how many people retweeted this thing. I'm not lying.
A free haunted T-shirt.
Maybe Bob could take it to the cemetery.
Well, maybe we should have put like little. No, that would have been bad. Like little ghost things over our head. But I don't want it to be misunderstood or something.
Yeah, exactly.
No
No kidding. Exactly. So go do that, and then also, I haven't actually mentioned this, but we do have another sponsor on the show. GoDaddy is now sponsoring the show, and you get 30% off if you go there and you do trygodaddy.com/HWT. So it's very similar to Gamefly. Gamefly still sponsors the show too. But the GoDaddy is 30% off. You can get your website address there. You can register your domain, or you can use any of their business services. They've got all sorts of stuff that you can use. We'll talk more about that on another show, but I wanted to welcome them to the program. I played their stuff last week, but we didn't really introduce them to the show. So check out GoDaddy. It's trygodaddy.com/HWT. And then also, don't forget about Gamefly. It's pretty cool too. Free month. Do you know what that one is, Bob? Here we go. Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's gameflyoffer.com/HWT.
Booyah!
It only took me like 8 months to
nailed
remember it, but what can you do?
Yeah, and we have.
Let's not forget about Coyote Country Radio as well. We
Yep.
love the listeners over there and appreciate the opportunity to throw our voices on the airwaves.
Yes, we
You
do.
can listen to that at coyotelive.live, right? Coyote.live, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Now I'm scared.
Hey, Goonie.
Hey,
How you
Goonie.
doing?
So, so check us out. And we listen. we do this stuff where we're promoting and all this kind of stuff, but the truth is we're just happy that we have people listening and laughing with us and enjoying the conversation. So appreciate all you guys. We'll be coming back with another show, jam-packed show this week just for you guys. We, I think, unless I'm wrong, we're going to talk about whiskey. Because we have talked about whiskey before. We're going to talk about it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Bob's just staring at me like, why did you say that? Isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could either do whiskey or we could actually go through some real haunted houses.
We could do that too.
Well,
right.
you know what? It's going to be one of the two.